Hello, welcome, students, to another lesson series on Pythagoras theorem. Today we are going to look at Pythagoras theorem, one of the key powerful theorems in mathematics. All right, when we say Pythagoras theorem, what is it? Pythagoras theorem, you see, is one of the theorem we apply it to only right angle triangle. And the benefit of this theorem is that anytime you have a right angle triangle, when you know two sides of the right angle triangle and you want to find the third side, you can use this theorem to find the third side. How can we know this theorem? Before we know the theorem, I want us to talk about what we call the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle. When you have a right angle triangle, this is an example of a right angle triangle. Okay? So let me call here X, let me call here Y, and let me call this side Z. The side which is facing the 90 degrees angle, this is the 90 degree. This thing I've done there, this sign is the 90 degree. So the side facing the 90 degree is the hypotenuse. So in this diagram, this Z is our hypotenuse. All right. And when you know all the three sides of the triangle, it is always the hypotenuse which is the longest side. So take note of that. The hypotenuse of a right angle triangle is the side which is facing the 90 degrees angle. And it is the longest side. Now, back to the theorem. What does the Pythagoras theorem say? It says that for any right angle triangle, square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. What do we mean of each of the other two sides? What do we mean by this? If you have a right angle triangle, Pythagoras theorem is saying that when you square the hypotenuse, it should be equal to the sum. You square the other two sides, then you take the sum. That is what the theorem is trying to say. I think we have to take an example to expand what I'm trying to say. Let's consider this right angle triangle. Okay. Let me call here, this is a right angle triangle. Let me call here A, let me call here B, let me call here C. Okay. Then if I want to apply the theorem, what is the theorem saying? It's saying that square of the hypotenuse. What is the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse, let me change my pen. The hypotenuse is A. So A squared should be equal to the other two sides. You square them, you sum them. So that is how you apply the theorem here. I hope we are following. Let me give another right angle triangle. Let me draw another one here. I'm drawing another one, but this time around, I'm going to invert it. So let's see, we have a diagram like this. It's not always that you may have a straight. So if you have right angle triangle like this, PQR. If we are applying the Pythagoras theorem here, then what do we get? According to the Pythagoras theorem, it says that the hypotenuse must come first. Okay? The square of the hypotenuse. So here, what is my hypotenuse? My hypotenuse is the Q, because the Q is the one facing the 90 degrees. Q squared should be equal to, you can pick any of them first, P squared plus R squared. And we've gotten to know that we use this theorem to find the third side of a right angle triangle when you know two sides. I think from here we can look at some examples. So let's take this question. See, for this question, we are given two sides and we want to find the value of x. We have been restricted to use the Pythagoras theorem to find it. So how do we go about it? What can we say here? Let's go to the next line. So what is the hypotenuse? So this x squared should be equal to what? The 12 squared plus what? The 13 squared. Then you can take it from there. Great. So let me write this on the next page. So we will say that x squared is equal to, it says we should apply the Pythagoras theorem, so I don't have to write anything again. I can just go straight and solve. So my x squared is equal to 12 squared plus what? Plus my 13 squared. So x squared equals, this gives me 144, 169. Now let's take the sum. When we take the sum, what do we get? 144, 169. We get what here? 3. Remember 1, 1. 3. Is that right? We are adding. So we get 313. Is that not it? So I'll write it here. 313 x squared. I want x, so I will take the square root of both sides. So my x will be plus or minus. When you take the square root of a number, you get plus or minus 17.69. But because x is a length, okay, when you take this for length, we don't consider negative answer, so I'll just take the positive value. X is equal to 17.69, so to 2 decimal places, and the unit is in newtons. So that answers the first question. I hope you are following. Now let's look at another nice question. We are supposed to also use Pythagoras theorem to find the value of x in this figure, right? So how do we apply the theorem? The theorem is saying that the square of the hypotenuse, so you must first identify the hypotenuse, and here the hypotenuse is our 10, right? So our 10 is the hypotenuse, so we can say 10 squared equals 6 squared plus our x squared, or you can say that 10 squared equals x squared plus 6 squared. Any of them is acceptable. So I'm going to transfer this on my next, this one, on the next page. I will choose the second one. I'll choose this one. So I'm going to transfer this on the next page, right? Good. So he has said we should use Pythagoras theorem, so I don't have to state it again. So I will say 10 squared equals x squared plus what? 6 squared. So what do you get? 100 equals x squared plus 36. When you subtract 36 on both sides, the 36 on the right hand side will go. So 100 minus 36 equals x squared. Then what are we going to get? 100 minus 36 is going to give us 64. X squared. We take the square root of both sides, right? We get plus or minus 8 equals x. But you see, we are dealing with distance, length. So we don't take the positive answer. We don't take the negative answer. Why are we saying plus or minus 8? Because you see, when we take the square root of it, it means 8 times 8 is 64. Likewise, negative 8 times negative 8 is also 64, right? So when you take the square root of a number, the answer is plus or minus. So for those of us who are confused, that is the reason. Okay? Good. But because we are dealing with length takes an absolute value. It's a positive answer. So I will take the positive answer. I won't write plus or minus. So I will say x is equal to 8. And the unit in the diagram is meter per second. The value of x is that. Right. I hope you are enjoying the lesson. So that is that for Pythagoras theorem. I want to give you these two nice questions. Use the Pythagoras theorem and find the value of x in each of them. And when I tried, this is what I had. So see if you can get the answers like that. The first one, I had 6.4 newtons, and the second one, I had 7.5 meter per second to 1 decimal place each. So I'm waiting for your comment and your answers. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe for more interesting videos. Goodbye.